Good afternoon, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Okay, I see a thumbs up, which is great. Alrighty, so we have a couple people in the room. We have 18 attendees, which is great. All right, so welcome everyone to the second webinar of the Belize Tourism Futures series. My name is Angela from Belize.com, and I'll be your host for today's session. So the goal for this series, like I've mentioned in the previous one, is to revolutionize the tourism industry by fostering innovation and sustainability. This initiative was inspired by Lorenzo Gonzalez's dedication to Belize's economic growth and is supported by Emergent Ventures grant from the George Mason University's Mercatus Center and in collaboration with Belize.com and the Lodge at Chat Creek. Today, now, we're diving into creating memorable experiences with Lorenzo and Nadim Chin, who is a community builder creating immersive experiences for over a decade. Nadim consistently champions projects that promote inclusivity and opportunities for all. And with experience working with destination management organizations, he helped pave the way for growth of Indigenous tourism in Edmonton and across Alberta. So, with that said, I'd also like to go over some housekeeping notes. So there is a chat box available if you'd like to share comments or ask questions. And all questions that are asked during the presentations will be answered at the end of the presentation. So during the Q&A session, for those who would like to use your camera or your mics, you can send a request for me to enable those features for you. And if you need to use that, you could also send a request to me. So there is a mic icon at the bottom of your screen if you're on a laptop or desktop. And if you're on a mobile device, you can just tap on the little mic icon that you have on the right corner. So without further ado, I will just give access to Nadim so he could go ahead and start his presentation.
Thank you, Angela. I'm just giving 1 second to create to share my screen. Okay. So we got the screen up. Perfect. Okay. Well, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I guess first off, I just want to thank Lorenzo at Belize Tourism Futures and Angela at Belize for having me today to talk about something I really love, which is creating memorable experiences. Now, a little bit about me. I'm based in Edmonton, Alberta, which is in Canada, where we're pretty far north, just a couple hours east of the Rocky Mountains. It's snowing today, so that gives you a bit of a point as to how far north I am. But I'm a huge fan of the city that I live in Edmonton, and I was also fortunate enough to lead the destination development team here in Edmonton at one point for Edmonton's destination management organization. And with that, I was able to help create many different world-class experiences. And then also I was able to consult with many Indigenous tourism businesses here and helping them help them refine their experiences for our international visitors to the area. Today, we're going to talk about experiences, why they're important, what you can do to make them as memorable as you can. And then we'll also have some time to take some questions. So like Angela mentioned, if you do have questions, please send them in through the question feature here on the platform. So to start, I'm going to try something, and I can't see anybody, so hopefully we all play along. But what I want you to do is I want you to actually everyone just close their eyes. So give you a second, close your eyes. Don't worry. Here, I'll walk you through everything, or I'll guide you through everything that we're going to do. So now, if your eyes are closed, I want you to think back to a fond memory of something that you did in the past, something that just stands out in your mind. This could be from a vacation you took, or it could be something as simple as a time you were just playing outside with your friends, or a time you were just at the beach. Now, while you're thinking of that memory, I want you to pretend like you're just standing in the middle of whatever's happening at the time, and just notice about what's happening around you. So, what do you see? Is it sunny out? Is it cloudy? What's happening around you? Do you hear any sounds? People making noise in the background? Are there birds chirping? Can you maybe hear the crashing of the waves or a car driving by? What's the weather like? Is it raining? Is the wind blowing? Is the sun shining on your face? Maybe some rain. You feel some rain. Can you feel anything around you? What do you feel on your feet? Can you feel the ground beneath your feet? Is it soft? Is it hard? If you maybe reach down and touch it, what does it feel like? Is there a scent where you are? Does it smell like maybe the ocean or be at a restaurant? Is there some food you smell? What does it smell? And what are you feeling? Feeling calm, maybe anxious? Something interesting to what to happen in that experience? Do you feel happy? Maybe sad? What are those feelings? Just take a minute to think about. Okay. We can start maybe coming back to what we're here for. So let's all just open our eyes. And let's talk about memorable experiences. So what are they? So what we just did is we went and talked about a memorable experience. We all just went back and thought of one in our own lives, and for some reason, why did you think of that experience? Maybe it was something that captured your attention that happened. Maybe you remembered it because it shaped who you are, it changed who you are as you grew older. But this memory that you have, it's created some sort of feeling, right? It could be a positive experience, it could have been a negative experience, but it's created a feeling inside that you had. And that's really what we're trying to do with memorable experience. We're trying to create the feeling in the guests and the people that are going through that experience. Now, why does it matter? Visitors are more likely to be happy about, feel happy about a positive experience. If you have a memorable experience, it leads to better reviews, better tips, and it actually will allow you to charge more for your experiences because you're starting to charge for value. It helps determine future behavior. Memorable experiences help people want to go do things again, do similar things, right? So it can determine where they travel, how much they travel, and what they do when they travel, where they want to spend their money. And then maybe more, the most important thing is it helps with word of mouth, right? Word of mouth marketing helps people learn about what your experience is. Maybe if you're lucky, it'll help people recommend your experience and your product that you have. Maybe they'll take some time and write a review, so that other people will maybe want to go and experience what they experienced. So this all sounds great, but how do we create memorable experiences? Now we're going to talk about 10 different things. We'll touch on them and I'll give you some examples of how you can start to create a memorable experience. And do that within whatever it is that you have to offer. These not necessarily in any order, but I will say if you can do these really well, you're well on your way to creating memorable experiences. So the very first thing, I noticed that I said it wasn't in any order, but this one is actually the first thing you do. The very first thing is you need to know your visitor. So who are the people that are coming to experience your experience? Who are they? What are they like? Do you have their visitor profiles? Do you know what they're like? Right? Do you know their age? About what age? Maybe their spending habits. Are they traveling as families, as couples, individuals? What do they want? How long of experience is how long of an experience are they looking for? Are they looking for a half an hour thing to do before dinner, or maybe a half day thing, or maybe a full day experience? Really diving into what are they interested in is really going to be the basis for what you're going to create. Now, the reason I have this photo, and this is myself sitting on a horse, but to give you an example, one of the top things that travelers to my region in Edmonton, Alberta, look for is wildlife, and they know this is not wildlife; this is a horse. Um, two of the markets, two of the visitors that we have are the markets that we serve are Germany and China, and now both visitors are looking for wildlife, for animals, are looking to interact with animals, but knowing the visitor profiles, if you start to understand the visitor profiles, you'll start to realize that the way they want to interact with horses or animals is very different, right? So, for example, the German visitors, they often want to ride the horse. They want to sit on the horse and maybe go on a trek with a horse to go see different sites. They want to explore the open land. Uh, but the Chinese visitors, they don't really want to ride the horse. They just want to maybe see the horse, maybe get close, maybe pet it, maybe take a picture with it, but they don't want to ride it. And so you could have, you know, if you have horses, maybe you have an experience that's catered towards your German visitors, but maybe also one to your Chinese visitors, right? But knowing who's coming to Belize, knowing who's interested in your type of experiences, that's how you're going to adjust what you need for your offer. And then you can make these small adjustments to each of your experience based on those visitors that are coming. But the starting point is really understanding and getting a good understanding of who's coming to Belize, who's coming to your experiences, and how do you make those experiences. Okay, the next one, I call it just getting organized. I think this is also uh, a very basic or very easy thing to do. And if you do it really well, um, I think it can make a big difference. Uh, so, what I mean by this is, when people come to your experience, if they're booking in advance, do they get information on how to find you? Do they know what they're going to get when they come there? Are the expectations clear of what they're going to do? I use the example of whale watching, but if you go whale watching, do they understand that maybe you can't guarantee seeing a whale, but you're going to take them on this trip that's this long, and you're going to try and go to the spot where they are. You may not see them, but do they have the expectation of what they should experience? Do they know, when they arrive there, maybe they have to park somewhere or they have to meet somewhere. They'd have to bring something in advance. Maybe they have to sign a waiver or anything in advance, or anything that they need to do. Do they have all the information for it? So it's really easy to think, how can you best prepare your guests to have a good experience? Uh, if you think about it, if there's anything that could get in the way of them really enjoying or being immersed in the experience, try to get rid of that as they get there. So being organized is a really easy one to do. Make sure they're maybe not waiting in two line to sign their waivers or whatever it is when they arrive. Um, the other thing that, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, is as you transition from piece to piece in your experience, those transition moments, I think it's really good to practice those. They're very subtle moments, but if you can create a feeling of polish or transition really well, so the guests can stay immersed in what's happening, I think that would be really helps um, create that positive experience for them. Okay, and then authenticity. Now, this is I'm sure you've probably heard of it, but visitors want to interact with locals. They want to learn about the history and the culture of the place that they're going to. This is a foundational part of tourism. Uh, and I'm actually going to the next couple slides. We're going to go through an experience that I worked on. You can see me there laughing, but this experience is at a cultural center called the Métis Crossing. So just outside of Edmonton, and it's celebrating the Métis people who were on this land here many many hundreds of years ago. But the experience is called Paddle into the Past. And this is at the beginning of the experience. And what you see is a Métis man here. He's in a hat and he's handing out some twigs. Um, but what they're doing is they're putting us through what life was like as a Métis child. And so here, these twigs actually represent spears, or they would represent spears, but this is how they train the children to hunt bison, buffalo. And so this is the first part, right, of really immersing yourself. What was it like to live in that culture? And this is what they did when they trained their children. And you can see he's also dressed in traditional Métis clothing, which also helps immerse, right? Put people into what it was like back then when they were settling on this land. So being really authentic. The next part of this experience is paddling on the river. And so making it really interactive. So now that children are trained and they're able to go on the hunt, they have to travel to where bison are. So they go on the hunt, they get on a canoe, and what we were doing here is we were on the same body of water, in a canoe, taking the same path. We were surrounded by the same trees and the same scenery that they were surrounded by hundreds of years ago. And that it really helped us fully immerse, like, really imagine what it was like back then. Obviously, they didn't have life jackets like we did, but you can really start to understand what it was like. You can see, the trees, you can smell the river, you could hear the waves or the water as you paddled through. So really getting into the immersing ourselves into what it was like, um, you know, in this experience, paddling into the past. This is the scripted, right? We're paddling into the past, exactly where they were hundreds of years ago. The next one is the narrative structure. Now, it's easier for people to understand or remember an experience if it has a nice storyline to it, right? So, is there a story to this experience? And if you can easily remember all the parts and how it fit together, they can recall this experience really well. I talked about transition points earlier on and how important they are, and um, this this is actually a transition moment, and they turned it into a part of the experience. So we trained as bison, we got on the river, and then we paddled to an area. Now from there, what we needed to do is they needed to get us from getting off the canoe in the river to the next spot of the experience. And what they did was they started getting feedback from visitors of like, it was weird that we got off the canoe, but then there was nothing for like 15 or 10 minutes until we got to the next spot. So after getting some of that feedback from everyone, what they decided to do was they uh, actually took us to an example of how did people carry things in the past. So the way that they actually transported items, you can see here, they were wrapped up in leather and rope in a white cloth, and then the leather they put over their foreheads, and then that's how they would transport the materials that they removed. So this is another way that they just added to. They took a transition moment, which could have been just a boring walk from point A to point B, but they actually made it immersive and showed how it could really help people actually feel what it was like back in that time. So for this experience, paddle into the past, we went through the training as a child. We paddled in the same river, in the same spot, and we even transported the goods in the same way that they did in the past. And you can see again that there's this lady on the left here in in the outfits that they would have been wearing as well. So it really helps you get immersed into what that looks. Okay, I'm gonna leave the this experience uh, here. But the next ingredient that we can talk about is being a guide. I call it guide on the side because it rhymes. But this is really allowing your visitors some room to discover. So, if you're doing an experience with a number of people, not everyone is the same, right? Yes, they may have similar visitor profiles, maybe close to the same age, but maybe some people are interested in other things. This is me at the Ukrainian Cultural Heritage Village just outside of Edmonton. And I'm for some reason, I'm really interested in the milk. These are milk cartons or milk carton that would be taken to different homes. And so I don't know. I think I was interested in the names, right? But as you can see, no one else is kind of near me. One person's kind of peeking in to see if they're interested in this. But people are different, interested in different things. But for your guides, you don't have to necessarily handhold them the whole way, but be there on the side, help them discover and give them room to discover, right? Because if you can discover on your own, you have a better chance at remembering things and just being interested in what it is. So really giving them time and space for. This is from the same place, the Ukrainian Cultural Heritage Village. And the next ingredient is actually an ingredient which is engaging the senses. And so the five senses. Um, I think when we were doing our memory earlier, I asked you what did it smell like, what did it taste like. Well, maybe I didn't ask what it tastes like, but what did you hear? Right? What did you feel? What did you see? The senses are probably one of the best ways to help people get immersed if they can remember what that is like. And you don't have to force it. Maybe it smells like the ocean or smells like the forest or wherever it is that you are. And that's just the scent that they have from it. Um, but again, food is a very great way to engage the senses. They say that 100% of visitors need to eat while they're visiting. So, um, what we are here, we're in a traditional home at the Ukrainian Cultural Heritage Village. And you can see, what do we see? We see people dressed again in traditional outfits. We see what it was like. We're actually in an old home, so you can see it as well. The touch, so how they engage the senses here was we were making pierogi, which are dumplings, Ukrainian dumplings, and so we were pinching the dumplings, so you could feel what that was like. Your hands were doing it. You could smell them. They actually took them and they fried them on the oven. So then they fried these dumplings, pierogies, and so then you could start to smell it. The frying of the dumplings on the stove, you could smell it, and you could hear the sound of it frying as well. And then after, you could also taste it. Right? So food is such a great, it's an easy way to engage all the senses. It's a really good example of this, but you can see all those different senses you can engage through food if you like. But there's other ways to do it as well. Wow moments. So this is, if you think of the narrative structure, if you think of any story as your story builds, there's that main thing that happens, right? Um, so what is the marquee moment of your experience? Do you have a marquee moment experience? And what that would be is there a moment where you kind of take your guest's breath away, right? Um, we maybe created some suspense to that moment. And this is the spot where everyone maybe remembers. Uh, it's more often than not, it's the most memorable part of the experience. And you probably is a good spot for photos as well, because it's probably the most photographed moment of your experience as well. Now, this here is an ice climbing tower in Edmonton. Doesn't even look like an ice climbing tower. This photo is taken from the top down. Um, this was my very first time. I've only ever been ice climbing once, so it's the only time I've ever been ice climbing. And at the top of this tower, use your pickaxes and you get to the top and you ring a bell. Hear the sound of it. But I remember that moment. My arms were sore, my nose was running because it was cold. And they captured a really great photo of this. But there's these moments where you just have that feeling sort of rush into you, and that's kind of what you're looking for in the wow moment. So if you have a wow moment, really start to build towards that, because that's the moment where you want to take your guest's breath away. And maybe an easy one, like if you're uh, we all have mountains here, the Rocky Mountains. If you think of, getting to the top of the mountain, you don't need to force anything, but that view, first time you see the view from the top of the mountain or that scenic spot, that could be your moment where you take everyone's breath away. So think about what that could be. Okay, I call this on for the gram. It's that's for Instagram. Now, I think this is an optional ingredient to add, but I think it's also one that we should maybe just mention here, because many people want to capture what they're seeing on social media. They want to create their own content. So consider, is there room for that in your experience? Does it make sense for them to do it? Can they do it in a safe way? Can they capture stuff? Right. It really helps spread the word. It helps people learn about what it is that they can do in your experience. And maybe it'll help someone else say, I want to go do that, or I want to get that photo myself, or have that photo of me in theirs. So ideally, if this can tie your wow moment, I think that's a really big win for you. But as you create your experience, is there opportunity for that? Do you even want that? So think about that, because it can help with your marketing as well, and help bring in other visitors if you have a good photo spot, kind of, if that's it for the gram. This is actually the bridge in the background in Edmonton is one of the most photographed bridges uh, in the city. Everyone who comes here for some reason takes a photo of that bridge. But they don't get a view from where we're at. We're actually in a power plant that's decommissioned and it's closed down, and we're in the middle of a tour. So it's a different perspective on that bridge, which not many people will get. But it's a beautiful spot, and it's a very traditional spot for Edmonton. And I think this is also um, another optional one. But if you have a takeaway, if you have an item that you can leave, the guest can leave with, it's really memorable. Now, this is a keychain ukulele, um, on an experience I did in Hawaii. So we went to a ukulele workshop, a place where they make ukuleles, And in this experience, what they did was they showed us their workshop and all the different steps that they took in making a ukulele, from cutting the wood, to shaping it, to sanding it, to polishing it, to the strings, everything like that. And part of this experience, we made a keychain ukulele. After we made that, while it was settling and the glue was drying, we had a ukulele lesson. Right, so we actually got to take one of the ones that are off the wall. You can see they're a little bit blurred out in the background, and then they taught us a quick song to do, again, engaging the senses. Right, maybe we could smell the wood of the ukulele, but we could feel the strings in our hands. We could hear the sounds that it was making. Um, really engage the senses there as well. But we left with the ukulele. Not a lot of materials for them. They had maybe scrap wood that they used. Uh, but that can also help, remember. People can remember when they're back home and using their keys. Oh, look, remember that experience I did, or remember the brand of ukulele. I ended up buying a ukulele from this store because I really enjoyed this. And I was planning on buying one anyways, but it made sense. I could tie the ukulele that I was purchasing to an experience that I did. So now I have a ukulele and a keychain ukulele. Okay. So that sort of brings us to maybe some of the key takeaways. Those are the 10 different ingredients that you may want to remember. Um, but I think the first one is really try to go beyond the basics of what it is that you offer. Um, the idea is you want to create some sort of emotional bond or personal connection for them, to the country, the experience, the location, to you or the people that are guiding them. So how are you going to be able to do that? And there's a recipe, right? There's 10 different things that you can look at, and try and use as many of them as you can. You don't need to use all of them. Some of them may not make sense, but if you can incorporate as many of them as you can, you start to create a better experience. And it starts to differentiate you, right? You can you'll get better reviews, more referrals, potentially customer loyalty. People are coming year after year. So there's a lot of good reasons to do this. Uh, yeah. So those are the key things here. It's really important if you want to create, um, more referrals and get more business to your experiences. And that takes us to the end here. I think we have an opportunity to go through some questions. If you do have any, feel free to send them through. Uh, Lorenzo.
Yes, thank you, Nadim. That was really insightful. And we appreciate that you're sharing your knowledge about memorable experiences with us. So yeah, so we can move on to a quick Q&A where we try to contextualize what basically shared with us, and so that people can maybe see how it would apply in real world scenarios. And if anyone, I'll ask 4 or 5 questions, and at the end, like if anyone has any other questions, please type it into the chat, or you can request that we unmute you and you can ask the question yourself. Yeah. So for the first question, Nadim, I was wondering, so if travel providers are interested in creating experiences in a crowded marketplace, how can they know which experience to create? Like, for example, experiences that would stand out, like I said, in a crowded marketplace where there's a lot of tour operators and experiences are available.
Yeah, I think there's two things to do. I think is look internally. Um, what are you good at? What is it that makes your experience better than any other experience? Every single person here should know why, right? Or what is it that you're passionate about your experience? There's something different about how you do what you do versus how someone else does something similar to you, right? So know what it is that you do. What are you really good at, and lean into that. Uh, and then the other thing is looking external. It's a look at yourself, but then also look at what's happening. What are the market trends? What are people telling you? Um, what are the people looking for? I think that's really important. What is it that the visitors are looking for? And then how do you match what you're doing, or adjust what you're doing to find what it is that they're looking for? Um, I think a lot of tourism operators don't look at that necessarily, but it's an easy way to maybe separate yourself by looking at it as what it is that they need, right? Hey, you're looking for a glass of water with a lemon in it. Well, I have lemon and I have water, so I'll give you a glass of water with lemon in it.
Yeah, thank you. Um, so now that you've said that, so let's say the travel provider has done, what you've mentioned, like done the research and everything, but how can they be certain that the experiences that they create will actually appeal and resonate with the participants? Um, yeah.
Yeah. So I'll and the first part of the first ingredient that I had, and I think and I just mentioned it again, but again, understanding your target audience. You don't need to be for everyone. You saw me on a horse. Not everyone wants to ride the horse. Maybe they just want to look at the horse. But so really understanding what experience you have and who's it for, that would change who you're going to market it to and who you're going to try to bring in. And it's okay. There's a bunch of different profiles that you can look at. But understanding your audience and what it is they're looking for, you're going to craft your experience around that way. And then again, looking at what it is that you do, right? Why are you better? What is your unique selling proposition? What differentiates you from everyone else? Could be your location. It could be you. Could be the story that you have. That could be the activity, right? So understanding that, really becoming good at that is I think the base for it. And then understanding what do you want them to? What's the outcome that you want? What is the feeling that you want for like they want them to have? Do you want them to be very happy, or do you want them to be very taken aback by the great views, or they want to work hard by paddling out in the river? Whatever that is, figure out what outcome you want and then really work towards that. So just take some time to really think about that. And then I think the last thing about resonating to your uh, resonating with like the people of like, what do they want? Listen to them. Not a lot of people listen to what their visitors want. I think a lot of people or a lot of businesses think I'm going to offer what I want to offer, right? I'm going to give someone a glass of water. Maybe I don't want a glass of water. Maybe I want lemonade, right? So listen to what your customers want. And it can be pretty easy, right? As you're taking them on an experience, talk with them. Hey, why did you sign up? What made you book with us? Why were you interested? Why are you in Belize? Like, what were you looking for in your experience? What other things have you done? Or you can have those interactions while they're right there with you. Ask them, I know it's scary sometimes to ask people like, hey, what did you think? What did you not like? Right? Ask them, make those adjustments. I showed that one of us carrying the materials in the white cloth with the leather band around our head and moving from point A to point B. That was from getting feedback. And so asking people, how can we make this better? Right? People will be willing to share. A lot of people on vacation are going to be having a good time. They're willing to share. Hey, it would be great if you also did this. So asking that, looking at maybe how people engage on your Google reviews, or wherever you find the views, Trip or Expedia, things like that. But just asking that, and maybe you even have a database of people who visit. Maybe send out a survey. There's a lot of different ways to get that information, but I think it's very important to just listen and see what people are saying, and then make adjustments to it. And it's okay to make those adjustments. I know you have something that you're really passionate about and that you want to offer them, but all you got to do is make a little bit of a tweak to match what it is that you want to give them and what they're looking for.
Yeah, thank you. So building on the question, based on your response, there's two things that I often find concerning about whenever I visit Belize, and whenever I'm in Belize and I see and interact with different people, tour guides, or just regular the average person at a store. And one, I noticed that they don't know how to ask questions like what you just mentioned. Like, so maybe perhaps like part of this question from me to you would be like, how do you ask? It sounds very simple, but how can you ask and make sure that the person, your guest, will be actually honest with you? Like, so how do you frame that question? And two, how do you develop, uh, uh, I don't know, like I believe we call it thick skin, whereas like how,
Mhm.
how do you become okay with receiving like negative, bad, negative critique? criticism at times. Like, um, I personally, I know I've had to work on that, and now I'm good. But I remember, like maybe 10, 15 years ago, it was difficult to think that people, when they're giving me um, constructive criticism, they weren't just like bashing me. So yeah, so if you can, like, what are your thoughts on those points that I just made?
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. It is scary, right? It's, you know, um, everyone I've come across in tourism is very passionate about what they do. They love what they do and they want to share. They want to share parts of themselves, parts of their culture, parts of their city, their country with others. That's why everyone is in tourism, right? It's a great area to be in. And so it is difficult when maybe someone doesn't have something maybe as nice to say about it. It's scary to think that, right? Because you love it so much. So I think you're right, and it is scary to maybe ask for that, and how can you develop thick skin, or uh, I think it's maybe just something that to be aware of and be okay with. And so there's a couple different things to do or to think about. The first one is in your own mind of, you know, um, this is going to help me be better, right? This is going to help me understand what I need to do, right? Um, you probably spend a lot of time thinking, what are the answers? How can I? What do I need to give to my customers? But when they're right in front of you, or you're able to talk with them or communicate with them, it's um, it's a little bit easier. So this is an opportunity. Like, think of it as an opportunity to improve what you're doing. The second thing that I maybe say is just it's in how you frame the question. You know, you know, maybe the question is not, "Hey, what did you not like? What was bad about this experience?" That's maybe you don't want to ask it that way, right? Because maybe you do. Maybe if you're very direct, you want that exact answer. But think about how you're going to ask them the question. So maybe the question is, "Hey, what did like, once you've done this experience, what did you really enjoy about it? We're trying to improve. Hey, we're trying to improve what we're offering. And I'm just curious. Well, why did you book here? What are you looking for? Hey, what could we do better? You know, if there's one thing you could change about this experience to make it absolutely great, what would it be? Right. And so really digging in and maybe asking some extra questions. Because maybe they'll say, "Oh, it was awesome. We loved it." Okay, awesome. Thank you. But if there's one thing that you could just adjust to make it the perfect afternoon, the perfect morning, what would it be? And leaving it down, just leaving it very open for them. And then as you're hearing it, uh, the other piece is as you're hearing it would be just saying thank you. You know, even if you don't like what they're saying or you disagree or whatever, you don't need to be defensive. Just say, "Hey, thank you," and make a note of it. You know, and see, the more you have these conversations, the more you're going to start to understand your visitors, the more they're going to tell you, the more you're going to get better. And you're going to realize some of it may not, maybe you can't do what they ask for or what you need to do, but you may start to hear the same thing over and over again. And maybe those are the things you need to change. So start to think about that, and just again, listening, a very powerful tool that not a lot of people use it, but it's okay to listen. They're not here to tear down what you're doing. They're here to help you make it better.
Wow, yeah, I love the suggestion about reframing the question. Yeah, like asking how can I improve this experience or service? Like, people will always not see that as saying something negative about your product or experience. Yeah, moving on to the next question. So again, I really appreciate you sharing the list of ingredients of like what make how to create memorable experiences. Um, but I mean, I'm sure like a lot of travel providers would probably run into a situation where and like using all those design principles are impossible. And that might be for various reasons. So if that's the case, like what would be an optimal approach to prioritize elements that include certain experiences? So I think basically what I'm asking is like what what are like some of the experiences that are a must to have and others are perhaps just nice to have? so that when someone's creating an experience, they say, okay, no matter what, I want to keep, I don't know, eat 1, 2, 3, and 5 or whatever.
Yeah, and maybe I'll uh, just pull them up here so we can all look at that. Yeah, there's planning and being prepared to if you create your experience. The more you think about it, the better it can be. You can't always do some of them, right? And I mentioned them. Number 9 and 10, the photo and the takeaway, they may not be possible. Even engaging the senses, you may not be able to engage all the senses because maybe you can't give food out or make whatever that may be. But there's certain ones that are easy to incorporate, right? So I think the probably the most important two, or the two that anyone can incorporate, is knowing your visitor, right? How do you know what to create if you don't know who you're creating it for, right? If you don't know what they want, how do you know what it is? So that one I think is you absolutely need. And then getting organized. I think that's an easy one. Maybe not an easy one, but I think that's one that everyone should be doing as well, right? So, you prioritize some of these. What are those ones that you can do? And then these other ones, you got to think about how can you incorporate that within it. And there may be different ways at the level you incorporate. We were paddling interactive. We were paddling on a river. You may not be able to do that, but maybe you walk them along the river and say, "Hey, this is the same spot." So there's different ways you can do that, and you got to think of how much can you do, or how much do you want to do. Um, so I think that those are other ones to look at as well. The wow moment, I think, is the toughest one. Um, you can make a lot of different things a wow moment if you build up, right? You can build up to something and make it memorable. So that one's probably the hardest one, or maybe it's the easiest one. But I think it's a more difficult one. But it sort of has the biggest reward. Say like a highest high reward. If you can do that one really well, that's going to create a really memorable experience. The other ones, you like narrative structure. Um, Sometimes it just doesn't work, right? Sometimes it just doesn't make sense for your experience, and that's okay. Um, Maybe as you're planning your experience, you can create it in a way that there is a narrative structure. Maybe you won't have it, but if there is, incorporate it, right? It adds to people being able to remember and recall these different things. So all of these different things, you don't necessarily need all of them, but anytime you do see it, right? Um, like engaging the senses, no matter what you're doing, you can just say, "Hey, stop for a moment and just like take it all in." Notice the clouds, notice the sun shining on your face, notice the sound you're hearing, notice the car you hear driving by, or the sound of the water splashing. You can do that, and it's really easy to incorporate, or you just need to mention it. Hey, take a moment, pause, and think about where you are. You're on a vacation. You're on a trip. Think about all this and how different it is from your everyday life. So I think you don't necessarily need like I said, you don't need all of them. Um, but anytime you have ones that can help, all of these things are going to help with creating a memorable experience. But I would say the first two anyone can do. I think the first three anyone can do. Um, be authentic. Talk about the culture. Share your culture. Share what it is that you want to share. Right? Why are you passionate about what you do? So those three I think are really important and can really make a difference. Anyone can make a difference. They're really easy to just as a baseline to help the foundation of what it is that you're offering.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, moving on to the final question. What are common mistakes travel providers make when creating great travel experiences?
Yeah. Um, Kind of mentioned this before. And Lorenzo, we got some questions in the chat that we can also answer. But I think matching it is what people are looking for and what you have to offer. So, again, it is a scary thing, but visitors are always looking to learn about the local culture and the local environment. So making sure you have that in there, that authenticity piece, right? Put that in there. You may overthink it. You may think, hey, that's not that interesting to me because I live with it every day, but it's interesting to them, right? I showed you a photo of snow. You may be interested in snow. I'm not interested in snow right now. It's snowing outside my window. I'm done with winter. That may be interesting to you. It's not interesting to you. So remember that you're doing this for the guest, right? You have something that you really love, but you're doing it for the guests. So don't overlook something that you may take for granted, and then adapt it to the people that it is that you're looking for. Like, so adapt to your audience, adapt to your guests and what it is that they're looking for. It helps. It's something that they're looking for. And then I think the other, like, a big one is listen to them. A lot of people are listening, get the feedback, hear what they're saying, go read the reviews, go read the bad reviews, you know, go read the bad reviews, get in a bad mood for a little bit. And then after you've gone into the bad mood, come back and say, okay, well, how can we do better? Right. How can we really match what it is these visitors are looking for? Maybe you can look into it. And then, what is it that the guests need? Like, are they comfortable? Is this, some of the little things can maybe just get in the way of, or get in the way of what you're trying to do. So just really taking a good look at, is there everything that you need in there? I think those are a lot of maybe the key ones. Um, yeah, listening and being okay with adapting and changing and adjusting what it is that you have to offer, I think is really important.
Yeah, thanks, Nadim. I would like to add one that it took me a while to figure this out, and as I'm speaking as a marketer and travel blogger, and it is that sometimes people include too many activities in a tour, not considering that there needs to be time for people to relax, and not everyone wants to just be on a go 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 go. You're on vacation. So yeah, that took me a long time, but I realized that, like, a lot of tour guides or travel providers, even resorts, think that the guest needs to be busy all the time doing things, like, or be on a tour every day, 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, um, or entire day tours all the time. Like, people get tired, and sometimes that's not what people are interested in. So I'd say, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Nadim, but I do find that that is something that I didn't think about for a long time, until I was, like, in a situation where I was just tired of doing tours. One time when I was on vacation, I was like, yeah, this isn't feasible.
Yeah. It's this principle of a guide on the side of, like, let people explore, let them discover, right? Um, yes, we have digital profile and we understand some large things, like some larger uh, behaviors of people, but people are interested in different things. Still don't know why I'm interested in these milk crates, but, and no one else is, but, let them, give them some space to explore. Everyone needs some breathing room. Yeah, I think that's really important.
Okay, so let's move on to questions in the chat. Let's see, I can read them. So I
I
think
think, yeah, there was one from Miss Carlene. She said, "Thank you for these excellent recommendations that could be easily applied for current and recent guests. But what is the best approach for past guests?"
uh, sorry, but what exactly about past guests?
Perhaps she's asking, when, let's say, after they leave, is there anything that maybe the business can do to sort of like keep in touch with the guests, I guess. That's what maybe Miss Carlene, you could add an explanation, but from what I'm getting is that how do you keep that connection with the guests and make them remember that they had a wonderful time at, I guess, their property.
Yeah. So, um, yeah, this is a bit tricky, right? Because if you can't connect, contact with them,
Yeah.
or you can't contact them, it may be a little difficult, but um, not all is lost. So m- maybe you have like an email list where you can contact them, maybe get them a review or remind them of something. Um, Maybe you send an email a week after saying, "Hey, we loved having you. Here's a photo that our guide took of everyone." And share that with them or share a memory from it. Maybe it is around that wow moment. Here's that piece to remember. And hey, also, by the way, we would love it if you could send us a review now that you're back home. So you may not have all that information. So if you don't have that information, then what do you do? Well, if you have photos or people are taking photos and you're seeing photos that are being collected of your experience, resharing them through your social media, maybe that'll connect with that person of saying, "Oh yeah, look, hey, there's the photo that I took or that was there from the experience." So, using what's available to you, you may not be able to, but the good news is that starting today, you can start doing it.
Okay. Miss Carlene commented, these are past guests who traveled a while ago. So, do you mean by the past guests returning and you want to create more wow memories for them? Maybe you could share some, I guess like a Belize part two type of thing where the first session that they came, they traveled, they had a great time, they had that wow moment. And then if they go back, how can we create another wow moment for them?
Yeah, yeah. Well, if they so that's a great question, right? Of how do you surprise them? The surprise is already they've already seen the surprise. Um, but it doesn't necessarily. It's not like we're reading a book here and we don't know what the ending is. They know what they're signing up for, so they know that they're going to get the view, or they know they're going to. I did one in Hawaii as well. Manta ray diving, go swimming with manta rays. And so that, and they come up right against you, like they come up right to you. That's a wow moment. I did that one twice. I know, or I was able to do it twice, and I knew it was going to happen, but I got to do it. And so, if you start to align your messaging or even your marketing and the way you interact, the promo material that you have, the photos that you use in your store, online, um, around some of those moments that stand out in your experiences, those wow moments. Of course, they know what they're going to do, but that's why they're coming back. They're coming to experience that. If you didn't have those moments in the past, all it is just reframing it, right? Talking about those moments of why it's so interesting. Um, something like, "Hey, stop and notice the sounds and the smells." It- They may not have, you may not have done that in the past, but as you're doing it in the now, those are ways you can really engage with your businesses here moving forward.
Thank you. Is there other questions in the
There's a
chat?
question from Salim. He said, I was in Dubai 2 weeks ago. Every single tourist that enters Dubai gets Dubai SIM card with free data and 50 minutes calling time. Don't you think this would be great for Belize and as you exit the country, they disconnect you right away? Communications are a main factor.
Yeah, that's absolutely huge, right? Especially if you're talking about visitors who want to share online, right? If they're going to be sharing their content online, having connectivity to the internet is a big one. They don't want to have to pay the big data charges and so on. I think that's a great initiative that the country or the communications that they've got for visitors. It's probably a bit of a challenge, or whoever it is that needs to advocate for that with I think the government or the communications providers. I think um, it can have a probably a pretty good effect on the economy if you look at um, the impacts of social media and how it can bring in more visitors. Right, it's a big industry in terms of um, social media influencers and bringing in visitors. And so, if you have content that's being shared around the world with visitors, that's someone who's marketing your experience for you. That's a great issue. I know in Edmonton, when to give you an example, when we bring people out from Europe, we'll bring in some travel media or writers from National Geographic, anything like that. One of the things that we do, if they're from Europe or China, wherever it is, we actually give them like a Wi-Fi hotspot so that they can actually write their stories wherever it is they are. Because sometimes if you're going into the mountains and the Rocky Mountains, there's no cell service there. And so making sure that they have that connection so that they can share what's happening on their experience is really important. So there's a lot of different ways to maybe do that. But it's a matter of getting
Okay.
creative.
All right. Thank you for sharing. Do we have any other questions? I think we've spent a little over an hour in this session, and it's great because we get to learn, I guess, your recipe to create memorable experiences. And I hope that everyone who joined us got some good takeaways, or what I like to call golden nuggets, that they could apply to, their businesses, and to make sure that the guests that they have get to sort of experience not only Belize, but your property or your business as well. So if we don't have any other questions, I think we are fine with closing. Or do you have any other thing that you'd like to add, either Nadim or Lorenzo?
Yeah, I mean, I first off, just thank you for having me. If people do want, have maybe specific questions they want to ask, this is my Instagram. It's my personal Instagram account. You can just send me a message on there. I am also on LinkedIn. I don't think there's another Nadim Chin that I've come across, so you can just find me on LinkedIn. But I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you have on any of it. But thank you, and all the best to you. When I get that, I love everyone that I've ever come across in the tourism industry is so passionate, and they love what they do, and they're so kind. Uh, yeah, it's great. Cool. So I check.
Yeah, thanks, Nadeem. I would just like to add that a reminder that our next presentation will be on April 17th, and it will be on how to innovate in the tourism and hospitality industry. Our guest will be Mara, and she will be sharing her extensive experience in agritourism and culinary travel. But most of all, I think the takeaway will be that there are a lot of innovative trends that are happening out there worldwide. And how do you identify which ones you should apply at home? Yeah, on your products, on your business. Yes, pass it on to Angela, and she can do the closing remarks. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. So thank you all for joining for the second session of the Belize Tourism Futures webinar series. As Lorenzo mentioned, the next session will be on April 17th. And this will be the last session of this first course, which is crafting unique and immersive experiences. If you haven't registered for that specific course that's being held next month, you could please go and do so. And then there's also like a test that you could take after this session. It's multiple choice, so you'll be able to see your answers and also get graded as well. So after the third session next month, you will be able to get a certificate for the first course of the Belize Tourism Futures webinar series. Again, if you have any questions, you could feel free to send us a quick email, or you could reach out to either Lorenzo or Nadim using the handles that they provided. And yeah, I guess we'll see you in the next session. Oh, and I'd also like to thank, of course, this project was made possible by the support of the Emergent Ventures Grant in collaboration with Believing.com and the Lodge at Chakri.
Bye, everyone.
All right, bye-bye.